welcome back to Division I Rechecks, episode 155. I'm your host, Kobe Manzo. Joining me in what is a much more comfortable chair on the other side of the room is Trevor Lee.
Glad to be back. It's been a little bit.
It has, actually, yeah.
Just busy with football and school.
I always think about stealing one of those chairs and bringing it over here. I just think it would look really weird.
I think you'd be really low.
I would be. It'd be really low.
It'd look really small.
No shot at my little Wayfair pickup here. You guys can't even really see it because I'm so wide, apparently. But either way, we've got some good content tonight. We're joined by transfer out of Notre Dame College. We're going to talk a lot about tonight. His name's Lane Martinez-Beasley, defensive lineman, formerly playing over there at NDC. If you hadn't heard, they're shutting down at the end of the semester. Not the football program, not the athletics, but the entire college is shutting down. A team in Ohio that has run the MEC, basically, for lack of a better term, they're just closing up their doors. And so we'll talk a lot about that. We'll talk with Lane here shortly about that process, him, all of his teammates, all the other student athletes at university just having to hit the portal and really just getting the short straw in what has been a hectic couple months for those guys. But otherwise, in other school closures, what an episode. We've got a Division III and a Division II school, both in Ohio, both, I believe, in the same geographic county, that are merging. Trav, I know we talked about it a little bit, but like, what the hell is going on? Is this just the time of year?
I mean, I feel like this hasn't happened recently, and I feel like we're getting another school, like one after the other closing.
It is like dominoes right now.
Yeah,
it's kind of ridiculous. Crazy. And this is a couple that we've covered even just more recently. And then when you go back even further, and we're talking about, you were here for the Alderson Broadus conversation.
Yeah, well that one's even crazier.
That was wild. That one was ridiculous.
That's a little bit different.
Yes.
I can't remember the number. They owed so much money.
Yeah, that was insane. But all these schools are facing the same issues, man. It's just enrollment is down and the money is not there. There are schools that have, talking with someone about, we'll say an unnamed Division II school out west, talking with someone who was an alumni there, that at least per their sources had been operating in the red for over a decade.
That's insane.
A Division II school that has really solid athletic teams, that has a decent enrollment, that hasn't really gone up or really tanked, but have operated in the red for the last decade. These schools, I mean,
if you don't have the enrollment, it's so hard to keep athletics. Athletics is so expensive. It's so hard to get money rolling in.
And especially the D2 level, there's not many revenue generating. But we'll jump into that more of that later. But it's very interesting right now. And we'll close off the episode talking about two Division II powerhouses who have signed a game contract, a home and away for the next 2 years. If you follow us on the socials, you probably already saw that already. But Emporia State, Angelo State, big-time matchup coming to D2 football fall of 2024. As always, if you're watching on YouTube, hello. Don't forget the video chapters, timestamps, bottom of the screen. Fast forward to any part of the conversation that sounds remotely interesting. Otherwise, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, listen pretty much anywhere. Follow us. Subscribe on the YouTube, please. Otherwise, let's get over to that conversation with Lane. Joining the show tonight, a man whose last couple months for him and his former squad over there have been pretty hectic, to say the least. Defensive lineman from Notre Dame College. It's Lane Martinez-Beasley. What's up, dude? How are you doing?
How you doing? I'm good. I ain't got no complaints, God is good for sure.
Absolutely, man. I said it a little bit in the opener, but, man, these last couple months, something that I said before we got going and got recording, that's not something that most student athletes will ever have to experience. Their school just up and shutting down in the middle of their athletic and academic career. I would assume y'all never thought that would have happened to you guys either.
Nah, it was crazy for sure. Blink of an eye kind of thing.
Absolutely. What was I'm assuming just almost no heads up. It felt like, at least from an outside perspective, was there any warning on your guys' end? And how did that whole process go down?
I mean, it was kind of a really weird process because we actually, would hear rumors about it, like going into the spring semester.
Okay.
So, like, when I was home for winter break, because of my friends, they work at the school and stuff, because, people have jobs at school. And they're like, yeah, like, I heard the school might close, whatever. But it was just kind of like a little whisper. And then, things were, like, coming on the news, and there were, like, articles and stuff. And then we were like, oh, like, this might actually happen. But everybody, was just like, nah, it's cool. He just kept acting like everything was normal because, what are we going to do until we know what's going to happen? And then eventually, they gave us news the school's going to close. So that's kind of how that went.
Yeah, and obviously it's not just a football deal. You're talking about an entire college closing down, a college that has some pretty awesome athletic teams across the board and a ton of student athletes on campus there, make up a pretty good portion of the student body. What was that day like? Did everyone, as far as especially like the athletes concerned, did everyone kind of get the announcement on the same day? How did they break that? Was it coaches to teams? Did it come from an admin? What was that process like?
So basically, the interim president called everybody down to the auditorium, like the big main auditorium, and we all met. And he was just like, unfortunately, I have to give you all this news that the school's gonna be closing. And at first, like, I don't really think nobody took it serious because it was just so like, it was like, oh, how do you like digest that in such a short amount of time? Like,
Yeah.
you just hear that for sure. Like the first day, everybody was just kind of like, "Oh, that's crazy," Everybody was chatting about it, but like it didn't really matter too much. But then as the days went by, like people started to process what was happening. It was kind of like, "Oh, the school really like being serious, like really dead, closing down for real." And they were having other schools reach out to us, like for example, like Walsh, like some of my friends on a rugby team.
Yep.
They're planning on taking over their team, so it's just a whole bunch of crazy things that we just kind of had to come to terms with, like, but at first it definitely was just like it was just whatever. It was crazy. We were like, oh, that's crazy, but like whatever, like another day. And then we started to feel it as the days went on.
As the days go on, man. And as it comes back to football more specifically, you guys had a signing class just about 100% lined up, too, with incoming freshmen. And obviously in your shoes, that's one thing, but for a 17 or 18-year-old kid coming out of high school that's just finally made the decision on where he's going to go to college. I'm sure there are a few athletes in the same position, but like where he or she is going to go to college, and then to have that just like yanked out from underneath you, that is just a crazy prospect for me.
I felt so bad. Honestly, I felt terrible because myself, I coach kids in high school when I go home. I'm the assistant linebackers coach at Paramus Catholic in New Jersey. Some of the notable alumni are Jabril Peppers and Rashawn Gary.
Big time.
Big time, yeah. And so I coach kids around that age a lot, and I treat them all like they're my own kids. Well, obviously I don't got no kids, but I treat them all like they're my kids if I did have some kids. So, I really felt so bad, like worse for them and the freshmen than anything because, they don't really have tape and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they're just getting out of high school. Like they haven't really played, like, and they're not even like anywhere near to hitting their stride. Their bodies are not developed yet and stuff. They're just at the college level at least, because how competitive it is now, especially with the portal, to just like get thrown in there and it's like, oh, good luck. So I mean, they've been very diligent with it from what I've seen on Twitter. They've been getting like some decent offers for sure, whether it's D2 or like some AA schools or whatever. But I mean, it was crazy. I really did feel bad for them because I know how difficult it was for me to find a school to go to coming out of high school as well.
Yeah, and it's like you see, I mean, the general public only gets to see the big time commits they're putting out. Like, here's my top 5, my top 8, and it's like Power 5 across the board. But for guys like you, like me, like so many other people across the country, that decision, whether you're going D3, D2, NAI, whatever the hell it is, it still feels just as big, right? Because you're committing yourself to that campus and more, maybe even more specifically that coaching staff, right? Which is such a big thing now with how everything is so lenient, everything moves around. But when it comes back to you guys currently on the team, you also get the short stick, I guess, the short straw in a way, because you look at the timeline, man, of the transfer portal and everything right now, this time of year when you guys get that announcement, and you've got teams that are finishing up signing day and you're filling these holes and rounding out your class when it comes to bringing in transfers at a bunch of different positions. And now when you guys are finally able to get into the portal, you're catching on at kind of like the back half of that. So you have a lot of teams that, at least I would assume, are in a situation where they've already spent a decent amount of their money that they'd allotted for like some transfer players on either side of the ball. So just, are the majority of your teammates, what's the process been like? Are they finding homes? How are the guys, moving on to that next spot?
Okay. So for a lot of us, I mean, obviously we've been getting a lot of offers like in conference. I mean, we ran a conference for like a very long time. So it only makes sense that, they would want to get us.
Of course, yeah.
But I mean, for the most part, I think everybody's offers been kind of ranging around like the D2 level. But for a lot of us, we have a lot of D1 coaches that speak to us or like, speak to my friends. And I mean, outside of O-line, because, big school's going to take O-lineman any day because O-lineman you really don't come by. A lot of people really want to play O-line, if we're being honest, or built for it. So, I mean, outside of really O-linemen, we've been in contact with some bigger schools, but just like how you were talking about before, they're like, we're not offering transfers yet. Like, we'll keep you in the loop. We'll see. I'm gonna have to get back to you, just like you were saying, because they're like, we got to see who's gonna leave after spring, or we're gonna see who, like, we're gonna tell to like hit the portal because we want you to come, like whole bunch of kind of stuff like that. So it definitely has been like not tricky, but that you could imagine how like annoying like the back and forth could be,
Absolutely.
because it's just like, all right, well, I know you want me, but like X amount of things have to happen that like you can't necessarily control as well.
Yep. No, I think a lot
So
of guys, prospects, whether it be high school or transfer guys, have been in those shoes before, right? Like, yeah, we want you here, but like only if this dude doesn't want to come here, or only if the situation plays out in a certain way, or we have an opening, whatever. I get that. And when you look at the D1 level too, I mean, I mentioned D2 and like these guys kind of shoring up their classes. That D1 timeline is quick, man. It's like
so
accelerated, even especially compared to that D2 timeline. In these schools, they got to move so quick, or else they're all behind and then become dinosaurs because everyone else is just moving so fast, which is a big deal. How many, if any, of the guys on the team? Because obviously a football roster's big teams, biggest team on campus for at least for most schools. How many, if any, just decided that, hey, that might just be it for me, hang up the cleats and call it good? Especially guys maybe they only had finishing out their last year or so.
To be honest, necessarily, I'm not sure. A lot of us really like, we've been staying to ourselves, getting our stuff together. A lot of people got jobs and stuff. So I don't really interact with that many of my teammates like I used to, just because we're all kind of doing our own thing now.
Okay.
No, we don't have spring ball or anything. We got our spring ball canceled and stuff. So a lot of people, they go home, or like they take their classes at home, or like they be at work. But from my teammates that I do see on a daily basis, everyone is still, trying to find somewhere where they can find good success. I don't really think we have like a lot of people who are thinking on quitting ball. I think they want to see it through, even though, the situation is kind of crazy. So that definitely makes me happy, because I don't want to see anyone waste their talent.
No, 100%. And it's just something that I'm curious, because, there's, even at the college level, there's dudes 100% of the time, that are fence guys, and the guys that, like, especially after a couple of years, they start to wonder, like, hey, is this shit really for me? Like, and that's just totally normal for a lot of guys, I think, at any
100%.
level. And I think something like a school shutting down could be the tipping point for a lot of dudes, just to, maybe they think it's some kind of divine intervention or something, just some kind of sign of the universe telling them that, hey, it's time to hang it up. But just curious, like the mindset and how guys deal with that maybe differently. But go ahead and talk about yourself a little bit, because you've been fortunate enough to pick up a couple offers here. It looks like you especially talked about in conference. But what makes you a guy that a coach wants to have on their team, whether it be on or off the field kind of attributes, man?
Well, I'll start with off the field. I'm a pretty decent student. I have a 3.0. Like I've been averaging a 3.0 every semester now since just about my freshman year in school. I'm a junior now. I stay to myself. Really, I'm not like a person that's gonna go and look for problems and stuff like that. I'm gonna be honest. Even if people don't like it, I'm gonna be honest.
Feel
But I
that?
also want them to be able to respect me because I'm honest. Um, yeah, I'm to myself. I'm a good student. I don't really do much anything. Like off the field, I guess, like in terms of like football off the field, I love to learn things. Like I love, like, a lot of people are always like, oh, I'm faster than this guy. I'm stronger than this guy. I'm whatever. Like personally, I didn't always play D line, and I'm not really like a D lineman for real.
Yeah.
But I literally just so hungry for knowledge and I picked up and wanted to learn so many different things, like how to read this and how to read that, and like understanding what was going on behind me, or like why I should take a block on this way instead of doing it another way. I love to learn things because I feel like it gives me such a good edge, and I just genuinely think it's fun. Coaching is something I think about doing definitely one day.
That's awesome.
I also love to learn things because, like I said, I coach Paramus Catholic High School in the summers, and I love to be able to teach them things I was never taught when I was their age, because like I want them to be so far ahead. So like when they get into their freshman year, it's not like a let's get this kid up to speed kind of kid. It's like, all right, he was coached well, he was mentored well, he knows what he's talking about. You could try to get him on the field so that they can have a good start to their early years in school that will eventually lead to their success.
Yeah. Just worry about the physicals, right? It's not having to get someone's mindset right or something, but just worry about like physically developing guys. That's what coaches love to do. That's what they sign up to do. Just mold these guys into really good like physical specimens and players.
Exactly. I would say I'm always gonna work hard, and I love to learn new things, like I said. And I can honestly, I'll play anything you want, to be honest. Like I have before, like played inside linebacker, I've played DN, I played D tackle, I played nickel. Like I've just, done whatever. As long as you're willing to coach me up on it, and you give me like certain time to like learn certain things, I'm gonna go out there. I'm always gonna give you my best effort, no matter what it is. And I promise you, I'm gonna make a play. It might not be perfect every time, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think anyone is. But if you want somebody who's going to work hard, that wants to learn a lot and takes pride in versatility, I definitely would say, I'm the kind of player that you would want in your program.
Yeah,
For
man.
sure.
And you see that in the film, right? You talk about like playing multiple positions, being kind of that like Swiss Army knife guy that can move around a little bit. Has that just kind of like curious because you talk about I think an expression that's really popular is jack of all trades, and not to say this is you, but it's just like a jack of all trades, master of none. And
Yeah,
like you know what I mean? It's a very real question. Like, has that
I know
given
what
you
you
any
mean.
problems when it comes to talking with coaches and coaches like, well, where do you fit in into our scheme, or has it been an advantage seeing that you could potentially fit into one or multiple positions?
For the most part, it's really helped me a lot.
Okay, good.
Just because, you know who Isaiah Simmons is, right?
Oh,
Obviously,
yeah,
I
of
would hope
course.
so. But it's really helped me a lot, and I actually model my game after his a lot. Like I'm not like necessarily purely a DB or anything,
Okay,
but like just the way that he can like move around and do things.
he's a freak.
Um, he's a freak. Has actually helped me a lot because coaches feel comfortable to put me in the box. Coaches feel comfortable to put me in the line. Coaches feel comfortable, put me in zone, like go crack some. So, it got really dark hold on me.
I thought to just turn the lights off. Someone for a minute. I'm like,
Yeah,
damn,
yeah. It's getting dark in here. I have the lights on because the sun was up, but my
you're
fault.
good. Don't worry about
And here actually I'll turn the light on.
it. There you go. Thank you, bro. We lost you for a minute.
Sorry about that.
No, you're
Yeah,
good.
actually it's definitely helped me a lot for sure. Because like if I could rush, I could blitz. I have size. I've proven that even for my size, I could play on the line. Obviously I'm big enough to play to run in the box. I'm quick enough to play quick passes, spread teams, all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely helped me with my recruiting. I mean, there are some instances where they don't really know where to put me.
Yeah, of
I
course.
mean, I can't make that decision for you. That's a decision you're gonna have to make because regardless, I'm gonna have to do what you tell me to do.
Yeah,
I just usually just give my honest opinion. I'm like, well, in this scheme, I feel like I would be the most, I'll be the most explosive or most productive, like X, Y, and Z, whatever. So
yeah.
it really comes down to like specific situations, but I have not really had that problem. Uh, yeah, no, I haven't really had that problem. So for the most part, I would say it's definitely one of those things that's helped me a lot, and it's something that I'm constantly trying to get better at for sure.
Good. Yeah, no, I was curious about that because I know I've seen some guys go through that where you've seen like the Twitter accounts and they have like the position listed and it's like 5 and you're like, okay, dude, like
hmm
you really could play it. Like you a 5 tool type guy. You can do all of it. If you can, hey, more power to you. But there's not a lot of guys that can do that. You know what I mean? There's a lot of guys though that'll specialize and get really good in one thing, and that can be tough. It's definitely a difference maker. But when you talk about that recruiting process right now, and you talk about getting a little bit later in the game, especially right now when most teams are in spring ball, have you, without giving me too many like obviously like details or anything, have you worked with like deadlines maybe from some of these schools? Like, hey, we'd like to bring you on, but we got to know by this given date, or else we're gonna go and pursue something else. Have those conversations been like?
Yeah, I was actually talking to this one school. Well, like for a lot of them, it's really like application deadlines,
Okay, that's fair. Yeah,
stuff
that
like
makes sense.
that. That makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to meet all of them. I don't have a car here at school, so I'm not gonna. So it's like, oh, come visit us. But it's like, oh, you only in South Carolina.
Ooh.
It's like there's only like so many things I could do with certain things. So yeah, like there have been deadlines. Like we're like, oh, we need this by this, or like we need that by this, or da da da. And mind you, our semester hasn't ended yet, so like there's not really a whole lot I can really give you outside of unofficials and phone calls, like unless you go help me get to where you want me to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that has been difficult, but not hindering. Like, usually you could kind of tell like where they gauge your interest at, depending on how they treat you to your situation. So for me personally, it's like if they're trying to make an effort for me to get there, like obviously I'm gonna do that because they're interested and actually want me to come play and they
Oh yeah.
care about me enough to actually try to get me there. Now, I feel like you're a school that's like oh, well, hand this in and like whatever, you're good, and we'll look at it, and like hopefully you could come. Then it's like, well, I mean, you don't sound too excited about it. Like, it's just kind of like, oh, it would be nice, but like if we don't,
Yeah,
whatever.
reciprocate what you get. It's how much
Yeah,
you
I'm
put in,
not
you're gonna
gonna.
get out of it. I hear you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna overplay my part because at the end of the day, I was actually speaking to my youngest brother about this. I was like, obviously, I have respect for all my coaches. Like whether I agree with you or disagree with you,
Yep.
there's still like a level of respect. But at the end of the day, like you have to make certain choices that are good for you because, like, let's say like a coach from here got offered a job at a SEC school, like he's not gonna feel bad about saying no. He's gonna be like, oh, I could make more money for
Oh yeah.
like X, Y, and Z. So you kind of gotta be on the same, and you gotta go somewhere where you're gonna be valued, you're gonna be respected, because nobody wants to end up in a situation where you're giving these people your body, number one, your body, your time, and you're being away from people that you love just for it to be like, oh, it's okay, whatever.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of that, especially in the last 5 years or however recent history, like of dudes prioritizing that and putting that first. But you talk about the younger brother. Is he at the high school you're coaching at?
Yes, sir.
He is, dude. That's pretty sweet. I thought so. Like I put it together at least on the Twitter timeline and stuff. But you talk about coaching over there, dude. That's got to be a really fun experience. He's what, a sophomore?
Yeah, he's a sophomore.
That is awesome, dude. So are you your assistant linebackers coach? Is he in your kind of like close circle there as far as position goes, or no?
Actually, what's so crazy is my brother plays O-line, but when I was raising him, he does play 3 tech. He's really good at honestly anything in interior line.
Okay.
I told him realistically, I was like, dude, you're big as hell, but like you gotta get twitchier if you want to be an explosive end. But like he's very good as a 3 tech and a nose guard. He plays left guard. He started at left guard actually.
That's awesome.
To, my other son. I call them all my sons. They're all my sons. I don't care if you're younger than me. I don't care if you're 2 years younger than me. You're my son. I love you like I'm your dad and stuff.
That's good.
He started next to Wamane this season, who actually was committed to Miami, and so he played with a couple bigger, higher ranked kids this year, being a sophomore. So it's definitely crazy to see him hitting his stride, like his potential. But it's also so weird because it's like I never played offense before.
Yep.
Ever. Like I never played offense before. But that's because I didn't start playing high school till about my sophomore year of high school. I didn't start playing football until about my sophomore year.
Okay, I hear you. Yeah. But that's a totally different mindset. Like a dude coming over from the defensive side that maybe has never done that before or vice versa. Like I know I'm someone who like I got a little bit of both through high school, but then come maybe like sophomore, especially junior year, like I was at a big enough school where if you're good, you play one way. Like we had enough dudes that we had like 80 dudes in the high school team. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of two-way guys when you get to kind of that level. So it's a totally different mindset. If you would have taken me my sophomore year of college and put me at linebacker and told me to go tackle somebody, I would have been, I don't know. I'd have given you my best, but it ain't like toting the rock. I can't hit the same.
Yeah, I feel that. It's definitely nutty, though, for sure. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't see it because he's always played both ways.
For sure, for sure.
I would just say the way that it comes so natural to him is, like, amazing because like I said, I never played anything on offense, but he makes it look like he's been doing it for a very long time. So I definitely give my kudos to him and his coaches because, they coach him up well and they prepare them well, and I'm so blessed to be able to be part of something like that. So,
yeah. Really cool, man. That's a sweet experience, man. I think that's really neat, whether it is your son or just your kid brother, man. I think that's really cool. But I appreciate your time, dude. That's all I got for you tonight. Thanks for joining me, man.
Of course. Thank you for having me. If you ever want me to be on again, just hit me up. I have no
Oh, yeah.
problems.
Excited to see where you end up, dude.
No, I appreciate it.
Following along.
I'm taking a visit to Marshall on Saturday.
That's right.
Which will be the 30th. So
there you go.
Definitely you'll see how that goes. So thank you so much.
Big time. Have a good night, Lane. I'll see you, brother.
All right. You too.
Appreciate Lane for coming on the pod, and we're going to piggyback off that conversation, Trev. We're going to talk a lot more about Notre Dame. Not that he didn't cover it for us. I think getting his perspective was really neat. You heard, like I mentioned to you, like just getting called into an auditorium one day, and your vice president's like, "Hey, out of here. See you later." But in the release, Notre Dame College stated that, quote, like many small higher education institutions across the country, NDC has faced long-standing challenges related to declining enrollment, a shrinking pool of college-age students, rising costs, and significant debt. And 3 News, the reporting party here I'm taking this information from, has since learned that the debt exceeded $10 million.
Holy shit. Oh, my God.
Because you have to think, if a school like this is closing down, obviously you've been trending down for quite some time, and it's also the amount is too large for any one alumni or any group of alumni to pitch back in, or like, because if it was $1 million, $2 million, then you think you'd have some kind of like last ditch effort to like, hey, we need to save the school, we need your help.
Yeah, get some fundraising, something to at least get it closed. But $10 million?
$10 million, they're rolling with that punch, and they're just gonna roll right out of the ring. Actually,
I just think it's so crazy because from an outside perspective, Notre Dame College is this very, like you probably talked about it.
Yep.
Very good football program.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, very good football program. You would think it's a successful school because usually good football program means a successful school. It typically goes hand in hand.
The reason for that is
because the funding and the money.
Exactly.
Well, apparently the football team probably was getting the funding. It just kept going in debt. $10 million. Everyone who was getting money.
Apparently. But no, you're right, because there's, as corny as it sounds, like good football team means like good, strong university, because typically in a sport like football that has so many moving parts, so much equipment, so many student athletes, and so many coaches and staff that you have to have on payroll, if you have a successful football team, typically, there are exceptions, that means that the program is incredibly well funded and that they have all the resources at their disposal to go out and get the coaches, get the student athletes, get the equipment, and do all of this, the venue and everything. But that was not the case. And some history on Notre Dame College, they opened first as a women's college in 1922. It didn't become co-ed until 2001.
Oh, wow.
Little nugget for you, but you didn't know that, because I did not know that.
I had no idea.
No, absolutely not.
Which is even crazier that they had a good football program.
Yes, and it wasn't the vice president. Sorry, it was the interim president. That was the one who made the statement. I correct myself there. But they have secured agreements with 9 partner colleges and universities to help current students in good standing continue their college careers through a, quote, teach-out program as a transfer student. Doesn't apply to student athletes, but Baldwin Wallace, Cleveland State, Hiram College, John Carroll, Kent State, Lake Erie, Ursuline, Walsh, and Mercyhurst.
So basically, almost all the schools in the surrounding area
absolutely
kind of helping out.
Hey, we'll take, and they're probably like, hey, you just shut down because you don't have enough kids? We'd like a few more so we can stay alive.
Yeah, we'll take them.
Yeah, so there's some other stuff kind of going on there. They've been doing a big job fair, and like basically a job fair, like matching people with schools, bringing all the representatives on campus, kind of doing hopefully all the right things. There was actually Cleveland State University, a school that I'm not very familiar with.
I know they're in the Horizon League for basketball.
They are, correct. It's Division I, I think, across the board as far as athletics are
Division I
concerned.
across the board.
They reviewed potentially acquiring Notre Dame College. A spokesperson told a different news agency that it's no longer happening. Basically, that Cleveland State had reached out, or I guess Notre Dame had probably reached out to Cleveland State, vice versa, and was trying to, order some kind of agreement for Cleveland State to annex probably the entire campus and operate very similar to a couple schools we'll talk about a little bit later. And that deal fell through, and Cleveland State said no. And they are, even though they said no, they're guaranteeing admission for former Notre Dame College students in good standing with no application fee. So I feel like that's kind of the least that a college can do.
Yeah.
You're going to come pay money for tuition? Yeah, we can waive the application fee. How much is that? I forget. It's been a minute since I applied for colleges.
I don't know. I didn't really apply to that many colleges.
I know it's like not enough to even remember.
And it was probably weird when I was applying because it was COVID.
Yeah, you were a COVID. Yeah, that's right. But
so who knows?
Let's talk about the football program more specifically, though. Right? This is a team that in 2023 was 7-3. A team that they didn't start playing football till 2009 because they weren't even co-ed to 2001. So they didn't get the program 2009. They won 4 straight conference titles from 2018 to 2021. And then in 2018, they were 10-0 in the regular season. They reached the D2 semifinals. Like, this is, dude, that's very, very recent history. You're talking about the last 5 years of this program, and a team that has just produced winning season after winning season and dominated the MEC over there. This is... It honestly is just incredibly shocking still. I can't really wrap my head around it.
I just can't believe like wasn't that long ago when they became co-ed.
Yep.
And then you would think you'd get a lot of more money from that just because you're bringing in in theory, twice as many people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But I don't know. It's crazy.
It's actually really cool to me to see schools like that have success pretty early on when it comes to like founding a team. I think West Florida is probably the most recent example of a team that just burst onto the scene and now like has just competed for like national championships at a good clip for the last
Like pretty much
since their inception.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Kaiser University and NAIA. They've only been a football program for less than 10 years. Just won the damn thing last year, which is really cool. But this is a statement from Notre Dame College as far as their athletic department goes. It says, Notre Dame College and the MEC are committed to assisting student athletes as much as possible as they work on their future plans. As per NCAA rules, all individuals with intercollegiate eligibility remaining are now free to pursue opportunities at other institutions. No permission to contact or transfer releases will be required, which is nice. The college's athletic... Why did they do those weird capitals? I really is throwing my eyes off, dude. The college's athletic administration will assist student athletes who wish to have their contact information available in the NCAA, transfer portal. Those students who sign national letters of intent will no longer be bound by those agreements and are free to speak to any institution. Boom. And it closes by saying that they'll continue to compete in all scheduled athletic contests for the remainder of the 2023-24 season. But imagine that. Like, you don't have to go to your advisor, like transfer point, get your name officially entered or anything. Just like that, you can just like, it's all opened up. Which I guess is nice, but like, I don't know.
Also for like the other sports, would you even want to continue playing? Like,
yeah, you have to finish out the remainder of the season. So I know like they've got a baseball team and they've got, basketball team's just wrapped up over there, but they got a baseball team that's in season right now. They're just playing. And you're like, are you playing with house money? Are you playing with no money because you owe $10 million? I don't like.
But then those guys are probably thinking, man, we got to play good because I want to find another home. You know what I mean? So there might be even more motivation.
Yes.
Watch Notre Dame College baseball have a great season and
make a run of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Dude, that's like when you have, someone I think always think NFL terms playing on the last year of their contract or playing on a franchise tag, and you're like, dude's got a ball out because he's trying to get paid next year.
Exactly.
Same deal. Same shit. That's hilarious. The crazy part, though, and you and I talked about it a little bit, is that, and I talked about it with Lane, but they had 22 signees for this incoming class, right? That were just carpet pulled out from underneath them, just fleeced.
I wonder
just
how late.
Fleeced.
So when did they say that they're February 29th? That's when the statement went out. Which I would assume, I think it's like right around. It was like very last minute February is when they made that announcement. Which, by the way, making that announcement on like a leap year day, also crazy. I don't know. It's crazy. Is it just me or? Yeah, that's really weird.
That's kind of ridiculous. Like you didn't think maybe this would just get lost in kind of the Twitter timeline. Like, I don't know, and I didn't. So, but yeah, so 22 signees have been left out to dry.
National letter of intent. You signed that January something, right?
Yes.
So these kids are.
No, I think it's the first Wednesday of February.
Yeah, it is.
There you go. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
So, for lack of better terms, these kids are screwed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just not many schools that are going to have spots anymore.
No, that's what really sucks. And so, reading one of the articles here is from a kid. His name is Braden Strum. Sorry, that took me a fat minute. Just an article that was posted about him, and he talked about, he had said, quote, that he had around 10-ish offers. But when he says offers, a lot of those are Division III squads. But either way, had a lot of opportunities to go play football at the next level, which we're not hating. Like, that's awesome in its own right. But he also apparently had some D2 offers from schools like Lake Erie and Walsh, which probably, at least from inferring from this, I can assume probably had some type of athletic financial aid that came with that, which is big time. And last week, when this article was, the week prior to this article being posted, he narrowed his options down and he chose Notre Dame College. It was like, this is the spot for me. He said it was the perfect fit. His mom was like all in on it, really excited for him. And he said, actually, what's funny too is that he chose it because some of the other schools were bigger and didn't seem as personable. Wow. And that's why he chose Notre Dame College, because it was a small, like, tight-knit community, which is cool, but also the reason that they're probably in debt. And he gets a call from their head coach, literally just a couple days after he commits. Gets a call from the head coach. And this is his quote. He says, he called me, told me he had bad news. I asked him what it was. He said, school's shutting down after the semester. He said how his kid's shocked because never saw this possibly happening. You got 94 current players, over 20 new signees that are just boom. And so he said that him and his mom now just scrambling back to the drawing board before he walks the graduation stage, hopefully onto another football field. Hopefully. Wow.
I just got to think it's crazy. Like, did the coaches and other people within Notre Dame College, did they know? How long did they know this was in the works?
I doubt the coaches would. Just because I know college coaches, there's no way they would keep that from student athletes.
Yeah, they would be up front. Like, I know,
Absolutely.
For another example, Concordia, Ann Arbor, had some financial issues, and I had a player at Milford, my high school, that I knew, and he was committed there, but they're very upfront, and I don't remember exactly what
about
happened.
The whole situation.
About the whole situation. So then he had time to look for other options, but then Concordia and Ann Arbor figured out a way to, like, they're still going to have a football team.
Got their shit together.
They got their shit together. So he ended up committing to Concordia, but that's not awesome. The point.
Yeah.
But they were very upfront with them right away.
Yeah. So, and that's where his mom, this kid, Braden's mom's frustrations are incredibly warranted. The quote here, she says, "I can't help but think someone out there knew this and saw this coming. Why would they do that to the kids who have been recruited and then go and crush their dreams?"
Yeah, exactly. If you would have known this was a possibility, you wouldn't have committed. But
yeah. If they outlined, and that's probably what they were worried about, right? Is losing an entire class. But at the same time, if losing an entire signing class is your top worry, I've got about 10 million other reasons that it shouldn't be.
I was just going to say that. That class of 22 is not going to equal $10 million for the school.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Not even close.
No.
Actually.
It really isn't. But we'll stay right on the topic of school closings / mergers. And this one, very interesting, too, because we just had Coach Allen on last week, right? From Findlay, the head coach over at University of Findlay down in Ohio, a team that, like Notre Dame, maybe has not had that level of success, but has just produced a lot of winning football seasons over there at Findlay. They've got a very rich tradition and history. A lot of that is in the GLIAC, so a team that we are still semi-familiar with. This is a post that took me as very much by surprise. It says here, D2 Findlay and D3 Bluffton announced today they will merge by the fall of 2025. One school, 2 campuses, 2 separate athletics programs. And the little cliff note there says, much better plan than shutting one of them down. Really neat. And so the quote says, but I'll get you in just a second, but it says pending NCAA approval, so it's just still a lot going on. After the merger is complete, Findlay would continue to participate in the NCAA Division II as the Oilers, while Bluffton would continue competing in Division III as the Beavers.
That's crazy.
This is a model that other schools are following successfully, so it's not the first time that this has maybe happened in the college landscape.
You know, it'd be really cool if both of them had, on their helmet, it was a beaver that had a hard hat on and an Oiler rig in the background.
That would be tough. That would be so sweet, dude.
That'd be sick.
A bunch of beavers working around like an oil rig. That could be so.
That'd be so sick.
That'd be awesome.
Why is that the first thing I thought of? That's what
the thing is too, these are 2 schools that we're gonna stay on this logo talk. They only have a primary color. Findlay's that orange, Bluffton's a purple.
Purple, a bright.
They don't have secondary colors. Purple beavers with orange hard hats.
There you go.
Yeah, dude. They should really bring us on.
Just to design their new logo.
Yeah.
That's all we need to do.
So, digging in a little bit more information here, there was unanimous support from both respective boards of trustees to make this thing happen, which, if you've been around college, especially with athletics and any kind of big college decision,
that doesn't happen too much.
It never happens. That literally never happens. So the fact that they did this usually means that they really needed it, right? They really needed to make this happen. And it talks about the 2 campuses becoming one higher education community and still operating somewhat separately, though. But the thing that gets really interesting is here, though, Trev, is that the University of Findlay and Bluffton University share similar roots as institutions founded in Christian faith and are welcoming to all. So they talk about their little bit of their religious background. But the thing is, they're affiliated with different churches.
Interesting.
So they're not a part of this, which would make this a lot more seamless, where a great example, Concordia Ann Arbor and Concordia, Wisconsin, are part of that same church, which makes their arrangement make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
These two universities, I don't have it pulled up right now ahead of me, I can probably find it, are a part of members of like different churches, which I thought was very interesting. I had never kind of thought about that. Christian schools, I kind of just, maybe for lack of a better term, just lumped them all into the same boat.
Yeah.
Right?
I was looking at the distance between Bluffton and Findlay.
Yes.
It's not like it's right down there. I was thinking it'd be like a
20 miles about, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it would be like a Siena Heights, Adrian type close proximity. Like, because they're both in the city of Adrian.
Yeah.
They're not. You have to get on to 75 to get there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a hike. And when you talk about some of the numbers from these schools too, so Bluffton, who was really probably struggling, they suffered a significant drop in enrollment over the last decade, it says, with student body declining from 1,198 in the fall of 2012 to the fall of 2022. Student body, this is, I'm assuming undergrad and graduate, if they have those programs, 745 kids.
It's almost your entire athletics. I mean, over half is probably athletics, right?
Yeah, it's got to be student athletes, depending on how many sports they have. But they have football, which is a big chunk. Findlay averaged about 4,900 students during that time period, but they self-reported an average enrollment of 3,500 as of this year, pointing to a recent and sudden dip for that school. So that's a big chunk. Mm-hmm. That's a very large percentage of that body. So, yeah, they did not specify if the merger will result in layoffs as a reduction of staff. And obviously, you're going to keep all of, if you do get that NCAA approval and you keep playing in Division III and Division II respectively, you're going to keep all those coaches employed, which is very expensive. Mm-hmm. I don't know how long that will last. Right?
Yeah.
That was something for me that, like, that's an expense that I think would be written off pretty quickly. And what's also interesting is that under the agreement, the University of Findlay will maintain both the institution's campuses. So it's not been decided how Bluffton's name will be used following the merger. But it says that relationships with both the university's founding denominations, the Churches of God for the University of Findlay and the Mennonite for Bluffton, would be maintained. So they're going to maintain the separate. I could not tell you what the I was going to say what the HE double hockey sticks feels inappropriate in that sentence. I could not tell you what the heck the differences are between those two different sects of, I'm assuming, just Christianity. I don't know. What a weird thing that we I guess, get to talk about. I don't know.
It's just very, I wonder how, are they still going to be like very separate?
I wish I could tell you. Now, when it comes to football specifically, let me tell you this. Findlay's got a great tradition history over there. Yeah. Bluffton hasn't had a winning season since 2016. And
so not exactly the same.
No, they've really struggled there in the HCAC. Just not something that has been a sticking point of that. And so when you combine that with the fact that athletics are expensive, I don't know how long I see them continue to be kicking, right?
But maybe they're combining with Findlay. Maybe they can work together as a coaching staffs a little bit.
Maybe.
Learn some stuff.
You're trying to pitch the positive side here. I appreciate it.
What about,
I don't know much.
What about if you're like at the D2 level and you're just not, you get in trouble or something on the D2 football team and they're like, you're going down to Bluffton for the weekend?
Wait, they use it for a feeder? Are you serious?
Yeah, you're a Beaver for the weekend.
Yeah.
Get down there.
Yeah, Coach, we're starting defensive end went down. Just giving you a ring to see who you guys had available and see if we can make some calls up. This is like on a Wednesday. They play on Saturday. See if we can make a call up and have them, come up to the big leagues for a week here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I'll give them a call. All right, yep, here we go. Chandler, pack your bags, buddy. You're coming 20 miles south. Welcome to the Oilers. That'd be awesome. That'd be pretty cool. I don't think there's a dynamic like that in college football.
There isn't. I mean,
not yet.
Some D3s have like varsity and JV.
They do. So actually, that'd probably be relatively similar, wouldn't it? That's like trying to bring in a lot of kids.
That'd be sweet, Loki.
Interesting.
Loki, it'd be really cool.
No, that'd be so sick. That'd be badass. But like, man, we might need this could be a good post for the socials. An AI generated Findlay Bluffton combined jersey with the colors and like the logos and stuff. I'm gonna make that. That'd be cool. All right, but I'll quit my waffling. Our last piece for today, though, is about two teams that are doing incredibly well, and assumingly their schools are doing pretty well as well. Emporia State, Angelo State, they signed a 2-year contract, a home and away kind of very basic kind of contract and those kind of setups. But what makes this really important and why it has actually a pretty big effect on the football world is what we've seen. This isn't a week 0 matchup, as you see. It's like a week 2, I think, matchup. But what makes this important, Trev, is that we've seen these schools go out of their way to schedule, these big-time and out-of-conference matchups in the first couple weeks because the playoffs have been so stingy and trying to build up that resume and during the season has become a priority for a lot of these squads. Angelo State was 7-3 last year. They lost to Colorado School of Mines by 10. They lose at Central Washington, who ended up making a run in the playoffs, by 3 points. And then they lost a tough one against UTPB, again, winner of the Lone Star, by 5 points. Like, this is a team that was very close to having yet another special season. This is not a one-off for the Rams over there.
Right.
You go back to 2022, this team was 12-1, and they lost in the second round of the playoffs. Like, this is a squad that in recent history has played some phenomenal ball. On the other side of things, Emporia State, much in the same. 9-3 this year with close losses to Missouri Western, to Pittsburgh State, and then to Central Missouri. So the co-MIAA champions there, and then a Missouri Western team that was pretty sneaky. They beat them by 3. But this team, too, is one that in recent history has performed at a high clip, but kind of just like has continued to kind of be on this upward trajectory. 2022 and 2023, both 9-3 seasons for the, I believe, the Hornets over there. They have had some really good years, and it feels like for them, they just have to kind of crack that and get to the next level. I'm excited about this. I'm always a fan of, like, what was that? Oh, it was footsteps up top. I was like really confused.
I thought you dropped something.
I thought you dropped something. I was like, what the hell is that? But I'm always a fan of these teams going out of their way to schedule games like this because this is going to be really exciting football. These first couple weeks of the D2 season, man, are going to be like must-see TV as far as like D2 football is concerned. And we were spoiled as hell last year with that Mines GV game to kick things off.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Imagine like some of these games this year are going to be just awesome.
Oh, for sure.
Really cool. So... we'll see, man. I don't know, early pick here, like who's going to come out on top. I think the big thing for me to consider, and, you know, it's kind of a basic one, Emporia State's losing their guy under center, Braden Gleason, the redshirt senior this last year. This guy put up some pretty redonkulous stats in his career. He was a dude that just did a lot of things really well for this Emporia State squad, and, you know, whether he did put up crazy stats or whatnot. I mean, you look at just this last year alone, right? Let's talk passing statistics. He threw the ball, Trevor, 517 times and only had 3 interceptions.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's compared to 47 touchdowns. He threw for 4,178 yards.
Wow.
He was averaging 350 yards through the air a game. Braden Gleason.
Crazy
dog. He was one of the, I believe, the semifinalists for the Harlan Hill Award, like one of the finalists. I think that's how they do it, not semi. It's for the finalists. That's the Glardy. But he was a dude that was very deserving of being in that spot. Didn't get too much done on the ground. He had like 230 yards in the year, nothing too crazy, about 20 a game. But he was slinging the rock. And so when you lose, you lose the guy that's been in the program since 2019. And that won the starting job in 2021, I believe, 2022-ish, has just come onto the scene and blown up like that. You lose a guy like that, you also lose a big-time leader, like a redshirt senior quarterback who's been in your program since high school. We'll see how they fill that hole. They do lose some other skill positions on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know how Angelo State is maybe going to fare. I haven't looked into too much about what they're missing in this coming year. I kind of wait to do that until later in the summer when we see like transfers and also like you know, who they bring in to replace people, especially when it comes to the portal. So I don't know. I just know that like Braden Gleason is a dog, and like that's going to be a really big impact on this game.
For sure.
We'll see, man. Who knows? I'm excited about it though, because now we have Pittsburgh State, Ferris, week 0, which will be fucking phenomenal. That's gonna be a fun one. Then you look at Northwest Missouri State, Minnesota State. That's gonna be ridiculous. I'm actually really excited to see Bemidji and Michigan Tech, because that's like maybe not like a powerhouse matchup, but two teams that like usually are pretty solid in their respective conferences. And then this one too, like we've got some really good out of conference games to start us off. Yeah. And then Northern's we're home against Duluth.
At home against Duluth, week 0.
That's a week 0. But they're right up there.
Oh yeah. And we drive all the way down to Kentucky Wesleyan the next week. We're gonna have to leave on like a Tuesday.
Ain't no we. That's y'all. That's y'all.
True.
I will not be on that bus. No way, dude. That's a tough one. But that's all we've got for tonight. Appreciate you all tuning in. This has been Division I Rejects.